Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we work on the Emojize problem from PSET 4 of CS50 Introduction to Programming with Python. Let's firstly take a look at the requirements and then we'll move on to the coding part. Because emoji aren't quite as easy to type as text, at least on laptops and desktops, some programs support codes whereby you can type, for instance, thumbs underscore up with colons on both ends, which will automatically be converted to a thumbs up. Some programs additionally support aliases, whereby you can more succinctly type, for instance, thumbs up without the underscore because it's annoying, which will also be automatically converted to a thumbs up. Here's a link to Emoji, which we still don't know what it is, we'll figure out in a bit, for a list of codes with aliases. In a file called emojize.py, implement a program that prompts the user for a string, str, in English, and then outputs the emojized version of that string, converting any codes or aliases therein to their corresponding emoji. Alright, so I've already opened that link and I can show it to you. So here is the link. Although I don't think this is the single most useful resource that they could have provided, I think the main aspect to notice here is the fact that there are a lot of emojis that have some sort of shortened aliases, right? Let's search for the one that they mentioned, thumbs up. There you go, right? So the original is thumbs underscore up, but this is an alias for a more succinct writing. So clearly we cannot just start mentioning all of these in our code, and apparently we're going to be using an additional package or library, right? Because that's what we learned in this lecture of the course in this topic. So if I scroll back to the top, it says list of all emojis in the Emoji Python package. All right, so now we have an Emoji Python package. We could be led to the GitHub. Let me click the link, see what happens here. Oops, not here. There we go. So here there's some documentation, and documentation of libraries is actually really important to read, or like packages. So let's take a look at what we have here. So we have an example. First, we're importing the emoji package, right? And then we're calling on it the method Emojize. This is clearly a method that has been prepared for us to use, and how I can just use it. And inside of our text, we can add thumbs underscore up with colons on both ends, and the response, like the output, would include the thumbs up emoji. All right, so far so good. What is the next example? Next example is thumbs up, but now notice how this one doesn't have an underscore, but it adds another argument here which says language equals alias, which means that we're now considering aliases as well. And the output is exactly the same. So based on this small portion of the documentation that I just saw, I can conclude that I'll probably need to use this language equals alias because the requirement of the problem wanted me to support aliases, right? And of course, we could continue going through the documentation. Well, this is actually not the full documentation, it's an example. But there is Demojize or Demojize, I don't know, where you have an emoji in your text and it goes back to a string, but this is not what we want, so we don't really care about it. So I believe the first part here is most important. So here is a demo of how the app should work, but we already understood the idea. We have input and some text. By the way, here I can notice that the only text that's written is the emoji code. So the only thing required of us is to use the emoji package in order to provide the output with the emoji and have an alias support. Perfect. Well, what I suggest is that we move right into the coding part. Okay, so just as in any other problem that we've solved so far, our first task would be to just record the user's input and store it in a variable. So I'm gonna say string str equals input. And now I can prompt the user. I can write just input colon like this. So what's going to happen here is they're going to write something. We're going to store it in the str variable. Perfect. From here, we will need to use the emoji library, right? But the thing is, we haven't imported it, so we don't naturally have access to it. We'll have to import it. So I'll say import emoji. Okay, so far so good. We'll also need to install the library in order to be able to use it. So I'm gonna say pip install emoji. There we go. The package is installed. All right, sounds good. And from here, we already saw how to use this library, right? If I go back here, we already saw that this library has a method called Emojize. So I'm gonna call that method emoji.emojize. And inside of it, I need to pass in two things. The first thing that I need to pass is the string itself, right? Here, there's a longer string. In our case, it would be whatever the user has inputted, right? So that's str. And there was a second argument that we wanted to provide, which was the language alias in order to support aliases. So I'm going to say language equals alias. All right. And of course, once we have the result, we can either directly print it or store it in a variable. I typically prefer to store things in variables. So we can say emoji result equals this thing. And from there, we're just going to print it. Emoji result, like this. All right, let's actually give it a go. Python emojize.py. So I can just write colon thumbs up colon. That's the regular form, and we see a thumbs up. Now, if I test this and I write thumbs up with no underscore, it should still work, right? Because we support aliases. So let's see. There we go. We see the correct result. And from here, I'm just gonna test with check 50. There you go. Copy. Come back here. Submit. And see what happens. As we can see, all the tests are green, which means that our code executes successfully. That was everything for this tutorial. It was a short one, but I still hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.